and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a brazier angle, and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's two questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes & Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes & Kerr.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
I'm Mark Dolan. It's time for Headline as we are in possession of tomorrow's front pages. Reacting to them, the dream team of Josh Howie and Diane Spencer. First up, the headlines with Tamsin.
Mark, thank you. Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. The Prime Minister is understood to have held a meeting with Sue Gray for an update on the progress of the Partygate report. Contents of the report were not discussed, and earlier today, Boris Johnson insisted he won't block names when it's published next week. He's vowed to shake up Number 10 after 126 fines were issued for breaches during lockdown. A man who attacked a commuter with a machete has been found guilty of attempted murder. A warning: the video you're about to see shows the moment of the attack and may be distressing to some viewers. 34-year-old Ricky Morgan launched an unprovoked attack on the London Underground last summer, hacking at James Porritt as panicked passengers scrambled to get away. Mr. Porritt, who suffered a severe injury to his hand, told jurors it was like a scene out of the sci-fi film Terminator. Celebrity chef Jamie Oliver's been leading a protest at Downing Street over the delay in new junk food laws. An overhaul to buy one, get one free promotions in supermarkets was due to go ahead in the autumn, but it's been pushed back to October next year. Tesco and Sainsbury's say they are committed to the original government deadlines, but the Prime Minister says consumers need to be supported through the cost of living crisis.
There are some things at the moment where we think they make very little difference to obesity, and they can affect people's weekly outgoings, people's budgets. And at this particular time, if people can save on their food bills with some offers, then I think we've just got to be flexible whilst continuing to tackle obesity.
Jamie Oliver says it's time for change.
This is fundamental, and it's for all your people listening. It's not about one thing here and one thing there. It's a bit annoying. Like, it's as profound as the smoking ban. It saves lives. It's about making young people do better, live longer, and be more productive.
Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has tested positive for COVID. Writing on Twitter, she says she's experiencing mild symptoms and will work from home over the next few days. Her positive test comes as the UK's COVID alert moved down from level 4 to level 3 today. Wimbledon organisers say they stand by their decision to ban Russian and Belarusian players from competing in this year's tournament, despite being stripped of its ranking points. They've expressed deep disappointment, but say the decision was made after Russia invaded Ukraine. The Association of Tennis Professionals says the move undermines the principle of players qualifying on merit and without discrimination. The Women's Tennis Association has also decided not to award ranking points following the ban. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now it's back to Mark and headliners.
Hello, I'm Mark Dolan and welcome to Headliners, your nightly romp through tomorrow's papers. Joining me tonight are two very funny people. One of them has double X chromosomes and the other has XY. It's not easy to decipher who's who because they both sit down when they have a wee. It's Diane Spencer and Josh Howie. And I know that because I've been on holiday with Josh Howie. And he's old school. Great to have you both. Lots of stories to get through, but let's start with tomorrow's front pages. And we will begin with the Daily Mail, if we may. Thank you, Daryl. And an important headline, which, of course, is going to dominate, sadly, for months to come. Fix the cost of living crunch or lose the election. A Mail poll reveals the toll of soaring prices and delivers a stark warning to the Prime Minister. Also, Beat the Squeeze with the Mail, unmissable news series by top money-saving expert Jasmine Birtles, good friend of GB News, regular contributor to this channel. OK, next up, I believe, we've got the Telegraph. Liz Truss, we will give Moldova weapons to stop Putin. And huge backlog of power of attorney cases as civil servants work from home. The Guardian revealed police chiefs to apologise for racism. Police chiefs are to declare they're ashamed and will apologise for racism, discrimination and bias still plaguing law enforcement. FT, Wall Street stocks hit bear territory. Inflation fears spark sell-off. S&P 500 down 20% year on year. Pain spreads beyond the tech giants. And rail groups prepare emergency plans as unions vote on the biggest strike in 30 years. The Daily Mirror next. Rishi's riches as families struggle with the cost of living. Sunak and wife on rich list with £730 million fortune. Rail strike chaos looms, say the Times newspaper. Unions threaten biggest walkout in modern history. They're running that story that we saw previously in the FT. Disruption could empty supermarket shelves. Good news for Jamie Oliver, who's worried about buy one, get one free on unhealthy food. He is campaigning in front of Number 10, pictured there with an eaten mess dessert. Not happy that the government is temporarily rowing back on its anti-obesity plans because of the cost of living crisis. The Express next. The Rishi list, Sunak joins the UK's wealthiest. Also, royal family secretly house refugees. The royal family secretly opened their doors to desperate refugees seeking sanctuary from the brutal war in Ukraine. And Dame Deborah, our English Rose. Fantastic story there about Deborah James, a broadcaster who was sadly diagnosed with cancer many years ago. She recorded an amazing podcast. She's written a book. She's written lots and lots of being cared for now. It's palliative care, and she's been made a dame, and she's a remarkable, inspiring figure and a very beautiful lady to boot. The Sun next, exclusive, make love, not war. I'm doing my bit on the side for Ukraine. A dad of two has run off with a Ukrainian refugee just 10 days after he and his partner welcomed her into their home. Security guard Tony Garnett walked out on his partner Lorna after falling head over heels for Sofia Kardakian. Tony, from Bradford, West Yorkshire, said last night, "We are planning the rest of our life together." Well, there's somebody that never wants this war to end. Might speak to Mrs. Dolan about bringing some people into the house. Be nice to see a photograph first, just for security reasons. Nothing else. The Daily Star now. I'm all right, Knack. Chancellor, who keeps telling us he can't help out with the cost of living crisis, is named as the 222nd richest Herbert in Britain, the Rish list. Spare a thought for impoverished Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who has to endure the cost of living crisis with £730 million in the bank. Bless. And those are your headlines. And we start with shocking news from Saturday's Mirror. We're being ruled over by a wealthy man. This is highly unusual. It's going to take some getting used to, isn't it, Diane?
Yeah, it's a lot to swallow, really, isn't it? When you we have the cost of living crisis, we have soaring inflation, and yet our Chancellor of the Exchequer is the first frontline politician to make it onto the Sunday Times rich list with the £730 million fortune he has. I mean, good grief, it just gets you, doesn't it? And this list is talking about all the billionaires, and this comes after he's saying, oh, everybody, it's going to be tough. Is it? Because no matter what he says, you think, I don't think you quite understand, Rishi. Like, all this says to me is there's going to have one of those awkward photo opportunities is going to come up again. He's going to make another cringy one where he tries to prove that he's normal like everybody else. Like, he'll be there trying to buy a can of beans or something, but instead of taking it through the scanner, he'll just plop it into the basket and just waltz on out, like thinking it's Amazon Fresh or something. I would love to see Rishi being tackled by one of the security guards at Asda, but what can you say? I mean, we need the billionaires to start spending their money, but not in a Bruce Wayne fashion, because that always annoyed me about Batman. Like, you had this billionaire who had all this money, and what does he do with it? He runs around at night dressed in lycra solving crimes, whereas he could actually just spend his money to make a better police force full of Batmans. You could have 1,000 Batmans.
Yeah, absolutely. Batman is just a midlife crisis, really.
Massively
the whole thing. It's a personal and emotional meltdown. Is there a sexist element to this story, though, given that most of the money belongs to Mrs. Sunak?
Oh, so what would you say the sexist element is?
Well, it's this idea, isn't it, that, because his wife is rich, it's somehow his money. I mean, they are separate sovereign individuals. So she's the heir to £1 billion fortune. Her family are Indian entrepreneurs. So he's worth a few million, she's worth many hundreds of millions. So is it a bit sexist just to say, well, he's rich, it's her money?
Oh, but did they sign some kind of prenup? Is a question. Like, do they have some sort of thing in place? Whereas, if they go their separate ways, a la, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and she decides to take revenge in the bed.
God, every relationship for you is Johnny Depp and
right now it is, mate.
That's all it is.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is the lens through which Diane Spencer sees the world.
And
at the moment.
And Batman.
Correct.
It is, yeah, it's quite a colourful place, my mind, I'll be honest.
But I mean, it's not, Josh Howie, it's not his money. Technically, it's his wife's money. Is that an important distinction or not?
No, I think, look, they're married, they have that money together. I personally think it's actually a really good thing to have one of the super rich at the front line of governments because he can then see and understand what their needs are. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
No one's asking about... Everyone's always like, what's a pint of milk and how much is a litre of petrol? No one's saying, how much is a kilogram of caviar? How much is a crate of Dom Perignon? You know what I mean? And he knows the answers.
The price of Lamborghinis. I mean, that would be a great gotcha question on BBC Question Time, wouldn't it?
Keir Starmer's not going to be able to answer that.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Ridley's going to get that straight away.
Yeah. How much is a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow? Answer me that.
Yeah. So
Sunak's like, I got this, 250 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've got 3 in the garage.
Yeah.
However, isn't this a bit small-minded? The politics of envy. Why is your bank balance an arbiter of the extent to which you know what people are going
It's just the level to which you can have empathy for other human
that's
beings.
identity politics, which
I don't know if it is identity politics. It's about...
You're against Josh Howard.
I am against identity politics.
I'm a poor person, so I understand the poor.
No, I think it's just harder to... I think it's harder to genuinely have an understanding of what it's like for people who are genuinely struggling. That would be my...
But I think, I wonder... Look, I've got my work cut out defending a billionaire, haven't I? But...
I like that you're doing it, though.
Go for it.
Good.
Rishi Sunak, it wasn't his idea to shut the country down for 2 years. He was Chancellor of the Exchequer. I mean, yes, he could have resigned from the government, but if you're Chancellor, if you lock people up and tell people not to go to work, you've got to have furlough, that costs all his money. So he's reluctantly had to do all of these things. And
so reluctant.
He's created... Well, I mean, we've heard there was pushback. So apparently he actually ganged up against the Prime Minister just before Christmas with Lord Frost and Jacob Rees-Mogg. That's a boy band from hell, isn't it, by the way? Right? That was like, if the Addams Family did boy bands, Rees-Mogg, Sunak, Frost, But he talked Boris Johnson out of cancelling Christmas because of the impact on the economy. So we know that he's been a sceptic to some of these measures, but reluctantly cracked on with it. But the bottom line is that, he's got a brain. He understands the economy. His concern, when he says to people, there's not much we can do, he's just telling the truth, isn't he? Because what can you do now to fix the cost of living crisis? If you give money to people, that involves more borrowing, which is more cash printing, which is more inflation.
I think there are things that he can do. I do think the windfall tax is going to be done anyway eventually, and I do think that they could be doing some more targeted. They're saying, the system doesn't work with universal credits. They can't. It's not true. The fact is, to the families, and they can identify them and we're not talking millions and maybe it's like 1 million people or whatever, which out of 50 million or 60 million isn't. But they target those particular families who are on 3 jobs, who have got a bunch of kids or whatever it is, whatever their life choice is, they are super struggling. Those people can be helped. And he can do that. And it's not talking about giving everybody a big furlough and everybody a big cash day. And because the fact is, when they do these cuts or they do, everybody benefits. And there are a lot of people who aren't struggling as much.
It is tricky, though, because these measures, I totally agree with you. We should identify those at most need. And I think that will happen. But all help is inflationary at the moment. So it is a bit like putting out a fire with petrol. And this is a grim economic reality. This is the situation we're now in.
OK. All right, then.
But look, I hope I'm wrong. And I'm certainly not against doing everything that we can to fix this, because people are choosing between heating their home and feeding their kids. It's a nightmare.
Yes, and do you know what you could actually say that publishing the Sunday Times rich list at this particular point in history is a rather inflammatory thing.
Yeah, because all those people who are struggling are going out to buy the Sunday Times when they could be heating their home.
Well, exactly right. Although you can burn it. There's a lot of paper.
It's so big. It's so big. Do you know, if you get a big broadsheet and you really scrunch it, roll it up, you can essentially make a torch. It's fabulous.
Wow. I don't know. You can still buy broadsheets. It's all about GBNews, all about the TV.
The world's oldest joke for you, which is that Donald Trelford was the editor of The Observer and Andrew Neil was the editor of the Sunday Times. And it was in Private Eye, and Donald Trelford said, my paper's better than yours. And Andrew Neil said, mine's got more sections. And it was some kind of rather, innuendo-laden remark.
Oh.
But boy, we laughed. Now, let's see if we can crack through. No, I got it. Mine's bigger than yours. Anyway, we'll go back. That's another story. Saturday's Independent. Russia not happy with Finland, Josh.
That's it. So after Finland has applied officially to NATO, surprise, surprise, they're cutting the gas. Russia's cutting the gas to Finland.
So I'm actually really starting to go off Putin at this point.
Yeah, I know. It's taken a long time. Soon he's going to... Are you going to cut up his portrait or something?
He's losing me now.
Are you going to take down the portrait behind your office and actually cut it up on air? Is that what you're saying?
I'm beginning to regret the permanent tattoo. Mrs. Dolan said, go henna. She said, go henna.
But you know what you can do, mate, is just add a little blonde bob to it and then it becomes his daughter. Amazing. But yeah, make it into a sort of ice skater or whatever. She really looks like him. It's kind of discerning.
I did notice.
No.
She's unlucky enough to share his DNA.
No, it's not a good look.
Yeah, from the neck up. Oh, that's grim, isn't it?
So this is what a bully will do, which is to punish people for essentially protecting themselves.
Absolutely. And fortunately, they have been preparing for this. Not that much of their gas is all from Russia, or has been from Russia, but it only is 5% of their total energy needs. So now they're actually going to get their gas from Estonia, and this is what they expected. So they said that the person who runs the company, the main country's gas company, says as long as there are no disruptions in the gas transmission network, we'll be able to supply all our customers. I don't think that's a clever idea to give Putin ideas.
Don't give that away.
Don't say that. Just keep that to yourself,
as long as this one pipe is working, we'll be okay.
This looks to potentially be the worst strategic and military decision in the last 100 years from Vladimir Putin. Because, here's hoping that in the end he goes back to Moscow with his tail between his legs and loses the war.
Yeah.
But Either way, the world has now regrouped against Russia when it comes to energy independence and countries that weren't in NATO joining NATO. You could say it's backfired for old Vlad, couldn't you?
It's backfired horrendously, and I feel like this is him still trying to play the game of business as usual. He's trying to pretend that Russia is still operating as all the other countries are operating. Oh, well, it's only because you didn't pay us in rubles that we're stopping this. It has nothing to do with you signing up to NATO, because he's gone backwards and forwards on the way he feels about that. He's actually flip-flopped quite a bit.
I like the way you're very good.
That's what a degree in drama does for you.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. So it was almost like you were sort of...
Loughborough University?
Yeah.
Money well spent.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, mainly they
She's
focus
old
on
enough where you
sport.
didn't actually have to pay for it back then. It's good for her age.
So I do feel like this is Putin's way of saying, oh, no, look, we're just being a normal country, behaving as a normal country would, you know, because he still hasn't even openly admitted that it is a war. Which is actually also serving to his detriment, because the soldiers that are now refusing to fight or return to the front lines are not being prosecuted as they would be were it wartime.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this thing about rubles is a big deal, because he needs to be paid in rubles because it's an artificial currency. If he was paid in dollars and then they tried to change it into rubles, it'd be like worth nothing.
Yeah.
So that's why he's insisting that he gets the rubles. But he ain't getting those rubles. He ain't getting those rubles.
It ain't happening. It goes from bad to worse. And here's hoping that continues. Saturday's Telegraph now. And Josh, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a new virus.
Yeah, I think...
I'm so over COVID.
You need a new viral video, is what you need.
I really do. Omicron's been very disappointing.
Yes, exactly. But good news, monkeypox. Good old monkeypox. Those Chinese have been messing around with those monkeys in that fish market, and we've got a whole new thing coming on.
I'm told that a monkey had relations with a bat. Is that right?
Exactly.
What?
That's exactly what happened. In a lab. Trump was there this time.
What a day in the lab.
The Chinese monkeypox
So is the monkeypox a real thing?
It's a real thing. And
Spencer, have you had it?
No, I haven't, thank goodness.
Good.
Monkeypox is very different
Because you do look a touch pale tonight.
A touch.
I've noticed the hives.
I mean, thankfully nobody can see me from the waist down.
but
You're
it's
a bit bumpy tonight.
Well, it could be. It's a little bit scary. It's linked to a super spreader event, an adult sauna. And it's linked to...
Are we out of comedy now?
Well, this is it. I'm afraid, no. Erotic events in Antwerp and Madrid, which is weirdly where I went on holiday, both places a couple of weeks ago.
You've got a bit of a cough, haven't you?
Got a bit of a cough, got some lesions.
Also, your hands have got a lot hairier since you came on air.
That's the monkey. I don't know if that's technically part of it. That might just be... I don't want to say what that
I saw him eating a banana.
Oh, my gosh. It's all happening. So there have been... Spain has had 30 monkeypox cases, and it's linked to a single sauna in the nation's capital. And let's just say the sauna was not part of a gym.
I mean, we probably shouldn't be laughing about this, but I actually...
It's fine.
I take the view, Diane, that we've had 2 years of the pandemic, and I think the public are just weary now about any future health emergencies. I think if the bubonic plague were to come back, people are like, yeah, whatever, I'm done.
Yeah, I get that. No,
how many more public health measures can we deal with? You know what I be
Well, this one
is that very naughty?
No, not at all. And this one is quite obvious, I would say, because it could very easily be misinterpreted as an STD, because it's often passed through sexual contact, lots of rubbing, lots of saliva and things.
We're safe, Mark. We're totally safe, mate. Me and you don't need to worry about it.
We won't be needing a vaccine or anything.
Fine.
We're both trapped in loveless marriages. So we're good to go.
Well, there we go.
You, on the other hand, I know that you've got a very vibrant personal life. Congratulations.
Yeah. He's wondrous. So, but they... also, the rest of the world is largely... We're not immune to pox. And pox virus is different from a corona because, you know, a corona is sort of shaped in a spherical with all the little bits coming out?
Yeah, with a picture of Bill Gates in the middle.
Oh, yeah, always, yeah, and the Illuminati symbol. The pox virus is actually sort of brick or oval shaped. but it's not called a brick virus or an oval virus, but that's what it is. And it's a large double-stranded thing, so we'll get different graphics on the news.
After 2 years on Twitter, everybody now is an expert. Literally, look at you, a biologist.
No, I'm just excited about the different graphics we're going to have.
Oh, I see.
But
not on this show.
But there are long-term complications. So if you are going to go to a nice sauna and you're going to maybe have some, relaxed sex with people that you don't intend to perhaps see again, then
I've never had relaxed sex in my life. I just have to say, put that out there.
Especially not in a sauna.
Sorry to reveal that to the audience.
Morning, anybody who's watching the repeat. Then you must be careful, because I think people are mistaking it for an STD, and then they're not being very careful with it.
Oh, I see.
And there are long-term complications to monkeypox. You can go blind.
OK, well, it is actually... And the WHO are meeting, and in a serious thing here, the topic of conversation, they're talking about how the virus is being spread. It's unusually high prevalence in gay and bisexual men, and also the vaccination situation, and how this is an opportunity to get the rest of the world to get the chip put in them if they didn't get the COVID
just
vaccine.
a matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
My thanks to comedian Josh Howie and our monkeypox correspondent Diane Spencer, who will continue her TED talk about this rather exciting new disease in part 2. Also, we'll be discussing the merits of wolf whistling, Elon Musk's sexual harassment claims, yes I did, and whether you should lose your passport for using cocaine. See you after the break. I'm going to the loo for a cup of tea.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here. You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a brazier angle, and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's 2 questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners with myself, Mark Dolan. A first look at tomorrow's papers tonight, reacting to those, the brilliant comedians Diane Spencer and Josh Howie. Saturday's Times next, and more on this unfolding story about the NUS and claims of anti-Semitism, Josh.
So, yes, the NUS have now put someone forward to lead the internal inquiry, a QC, Rebecca Tuck, specialist in employment and discrimination law, has been appointed by the union. I mean, this is just too little, too late.
And this is the National Union of Students.
Yes, National
So we should be worried that the next generation are institutionally anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
You would think that would be from, horrible, bitter and twisted old people, not the young.
No. Actually, 20 former NUS presidents have written over the last year to the organisation itself saying, sort your anti-Semitic situation out. Because the president-elect is someone who wrote... And it's, by the way, this isn't about, criticising Israel. When you criticise Israel all you want, that's totally fine. That's valid. But when you type out the words, Khaybar, Khaybar, O Jews, Muhammad's army will return, that is a reference to the massacre of Jews in the year 628 by Muhammad's army. And it's basically it's a literal call to the massacre of Jews. And this is the president-elect of the NUS. So, and it's not just that. Some of this, she praised the Muslim Brotherhood cleric, Yusak al-Qaradawi. He called on God to kill Jews down to the very last one. And she said that he was a moral compass of the Muslim community at large. So, I mean, I don't think she's very good at representing the Muslim community, let alone the National Union of Students. So, this is.
Do these anti-Semites, alleged anti-Semites, do they have a get-out with the idea that they're just backing Palestine?
Well, that's what they think.
Is that the fig leaf? Is that what they think?
But that's crossed over a long time ago.
Right. Are you buying it?
No, not at all. Like I said, Khaybar Jews, when they're shouting this at these, at the Palestinian protests or whatever, that is a call to murder Jews. That's got nothing to do with making peace in that region. And it's just that David Hirsch, he's one of the leading academics into anti-Semitism in this country. He's been attacked on Twitter by the president of the Goldsmiths Student Union, who said that he was a far-right white supremacist. Here's one of the leading anti-Semitic professors in the world and a massive anti-racist campaigner. So to call him that is really despicable. And this is the crazy thing, that person who said that, she is now being backed up by the head of his own union, of the Goldsmiths Union of lecturers, UCU. So they've got a problem. It's out there, and I'm glad that the government, frankly, is stepping in to sort this out.
Too right, couldn't agree with you more. What a truly horrific story. Saturday's Mail and the ethics of wolf whistling, Diane.
Yes, well, number 10 says wolf whistling could still be made an offence, because it's not been made an offence yet. You see, this government advisor, Nimco Ali, who appears to be Carrie's best friend, which muddies the water somewhat.
The Prime Minister's missus, of course.
Yes. So
not from Sex and the City. Not no. Carrie, different Carrie.
I mean, that would kind of be cool. No, it wouldn't.
Oh.
So there's, so Nimco Ali is a government advisor and has actually said, which I love, outlining her stance, for me, I would specifically love for public sexual harassment to become a crime. Now, you hear that sentence and you think, yes, that sounds appropriate. I mean, obviously, you've got an argument here where some people will say, oh, yeah, but wolf whistling's not hurting anybody. And I can see that point of view. However, it's when the person who's made the sexual advance then gets rejected, then what happens? And the problem is that there are a few horrendously bad apples that completely ruin the entire cart for everybody else. There are some men who you'll walk down the street and they might say something nice to you. They might go, hello, darling, or they might say, I don't want to flatter myself, but I've had it before. I've had somebody say, you've got a lovely smile, and I will literally go,
you've got a lovely arse.
Ooh!
Yeah.
do you?
Peach of an arse.
And what do you do?
You say, Joshua, leave me alone.
I exchange numbers. We go normally to Bella Italia, which is a really nice...
Oh, so you go straight in, first contact and a date and stuff like that.
A carafe of red wine, and we see where the evening goes.
Yeah, well...
But in all seriousness, your argument would be that there shouldn't even be the first rung on that ladder, that men should just know it's not a cool thing to wolf whistle.
Well, here's the thing. I don't... The problem is, I think that wolf whistling is a nice way of saying, kind of, yes, you are attractive. I mean, but it can make somebody feel self-conscious. But equally, if you're having a day where you feel pretty good as somebody wolf whistles, I just spin around and go, thank you, and just carry on walking.
So what do you think? I mean, do you think that men should not wolf whistle at all?
I have a...
Hard, isn't it?
It is a bit tricky because there are some men who... If they sort of say something to you and then you go, thank you, they will then chase you down the street. And then when you say, no, really, I'm not interested, I was just saying thank you because you said something nice, then they'll start yelling in your face. And I've had that as well. So I've had both sides of the coin.
Something tells me we'd be better off without it.
Altogether? Now, what I find interesting is that this whole kind of article is taking place inside Pestminster. There are 56 MPs who are being investigated for sexual misconduct. So, Westminster itself is just full of sexual allegations, and they range from inappropriate sexual comments made at work to literally like MPs bribing people to have sex with them. And these are the people that are kind of debating these rules. Yeah, it doesn't sit very well.
I think you're right. I think times have changed, Josh. I mean, I don't have any skin in this race because I can't wolf whistle. I never have done. For years, I tried to... I've been trying for years. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, this...
Well, to attract Mrs. Dolan, I used one of those dog whistles. You know, the ones that only canines can hear.
Oh, good hearing.
Her ears just like propped up. Like that.
He's going to go on GBNews one day. He's going to get the big bucks.
Yeah, she followed the scent. The rest is history.
In all seriousness, I think personally the best thing that they could do, get into schools, teach 9, 10, 11-year-olds, this is wrong, this is not received well. Have someone just explain, this is what it feels like. It might seem okay, but actually it can really turn nasty or it can feel threatening. Just explain all of that, and in 10 years' time, when they're 18, 19, 20, the problem is going to be mostly solved. I think it's young men or whatever, just some of them not knowing the effect that it actually can have on people.
Yeah, there's better ways of introducing yourself to somebody you find attractive, and it's not by making a noise at them.
Yeah, I mean, could I humbly suggest a flash of eyes and a smile? Would that be okay?
I think flash of eyes and a smile is quite nice, but then if that's not returned, go about your day and just go, oh, well, I tried. It's when it turns a bit nasty and sinister and they start following you down the street.
Can I try that with you now?
Go.
OK, so, Darryl, give me a camera. You ready?
That's Mark Dolan.
Blimey, it works. We better go back to the loo. Lots more stories to get through. Actually, should we do one more before we run? Let's do that. Saturday's Times. And is there anything Elon Musk cannot put his hands to?
Yes. Well, exactly. Let's try someone who might get away with a little... do you want to have a little massage? So this is in the Times. Basically, a SpaceX paid flight attendant was given $250,000, supposedly, to remain silent over an incident, or supposed incident. Now, what's actually a little bit more interesting in this, I think, is that he said in a tweet a few days ago, I'm now going to vote Republican, because the Democrats are just being so toxic in themselves, and expect the dirt to start coming out about me.
He wants to buy Twitter and restore free speech, which is letting right people have an opinion too.
Yeah, but this is a separate...
So the left, his sort of protective tweet is to say, his defensive tweet to say, OK, I'm buying Twitter, I'm going to restore free speech. The lefties are going to try and take me down now.
Well, but he said, basically, I'm going to vote Republican. So it wasn't really about him buying Twitter. He just said, I'm now going to vote Republican, and now watch everybody try to take me down. Now, that would suggest to me that he found out that some stuff's going to come out, and he's like, oh, I mean, he's such a clever bloke. That is it's like going, oh, I know, I'm voting Republican, so don't believe anything that anybody ever says about me. So whether there's truth to this, it sounds like he was allowed a massage anyway. Like he said, oh, I want a full body massage. Like that wasn't the issue. Like the person who made this complaint didn't say, oh, he expected me to give him full. Sounds like that was part of her job. But he then said, if you take it further, I'll get you a horse. But here's the thing. What is not being revealed in these papers did he also say he would pay for the stabling? Or for the hay?
Also,
Like,
the groom. The groom
yeah,
is
just
costly.
all of that
a
stuff.
rosy-cheeked 16-year-old to actually look after
I just
the
think
horse
buying
is
someone a
cheap.
horse is actually more of a hassle.
I agree.
Than when you've got to, you know, if it was like, I'm going to give you a horse and pay for the upkeep and everything for 10 years, I'd be like, OK, that's a deal. That's a good one. So that's that. And then he's saying, look, and now he's saying, look, this is all made up. If it's true, get her to name some stuff about my whatever.
A scar or a tattoo.
What?
Yeah.
What is going on down there with him?
Yeah, but if anything, that is like, it's kind of the benefit of having some kind of secret tattoo in a place that only somebody who knows you intimately would know about it.
Wow, you thought this through.
Well, I think that's quite smart, actually. If you're sort of a person who thinks they're going to be accused of things that they haven't done, have a funny little tattoo put down there.
Now you're talking. And on that equine note, that's it for part 2. We've saved our best till last. In part 3, we will be discussing insomnia, anonymous sperm donors, drag shows for toddlers, and what happens if you get too close to bears. Lots of stories to get through. Don't miss it.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here. You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
On radio, they call it the drive time slot, 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. as listeners head home. It's that part of the schedule when the dust of the day's events begin to clarify, and we try to make sense of it for you. Brazier is drive time for radio and TV. It's fast, it's punchy, it's opinionated, there's a Brazier angle, and a little bit of levity.
That's the question. That's 2 questions, actually.
That's Brazier, Monday to Thursday, 4 till 6 on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, a first look at tomorrow's papers with me, Mark Dolan, and my brilliant guests, the marvellous comedians Diane Spencer and Josh Howie. Following on nicely from Saturday's Times, cocaine users are potentially in for a wake-up call, Diane.
Yeah, right. Everybody in Canary Wharf, run. OK, so what they might do is they might change the way that we now monitor people who get caught with cocaine. So, first of all, you could be sent on a drugs awareness course, much like when you're caught for speeding, you're sent on a speed awareness course. But then after that, they're thinking of introducing this thing, which is where you get assigned a colour. And it's based on a system they did in Hawaii. And you get assigned like a random colour, like red, blue or green. Like, you know how they used to do the swimming pools, where you go in and they go, right, use the blue lockers, use the red lockers.
Yeah.
And so then what happens is they randomly call you, like, they go, right, today we're going to call the green group. And so everybody who's in the green group, their phone rings and they go, you've got to come in for some cocaine testing. And you have to go in and be randomly checked that you're not using cocaine at that particular point.
So so what you're saying is, but then just go in and don't do cocaine in front of them.
No. Like, it stays in your system for about 2 days.
Oh, I see. So I thought you meant, like, they'll call you in, put some cocaine, and then you're not...
Don't do it!
Don't do it.
Stop.
It's going to be quite...
They literally put it on your nose, and they go, don't sit. And you sit there with cocaine on your nose. That's the test.
Now, I am drug-free. I can't even have strong coffee. but and cocaine is against the law. But is cocaine such a bad thing in society? We're talking, aren't we, about legalising cannabis? Will there come a point where we begin to accept cocaine use? Because, I mean, as comedians, you'll know that it's rife among audiences and comedians.
Yes.
No, it's not actually. I don't think it is rife amongst comedians.
Do you not?
No, I think that image of comics has changed over the last 20 years.
more rife
I would say it
amongst
was,
the
or amongst a certain, but absolutely amongst the audience, and it makes
Yeah.
gigs like unplayable because they think that they're funny and we chat a load of old tosh because we have psychological issues.
Correct.
You know, whereas it gives them that same quality when they take cocaine. So now you've got two competing groups of trying to sort of talk a load of old.
I'm not going to be defending cocaine, but I mean, is it... If it's so widespread in its use, do we need these measures? Or do you just go, right, well, look, it's bad for you. If you want to have it, knock yourself out?
That sounds like you're defending cocaine.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm not going to defend cocaine.
No, don't get me wrong. I sell £20,000 worth of it a week, so it very much pays the mortgage.
Yes.
I don't partake myself. I'm like one of those madams in a brothel, you know what I mean? I just do the bookkeeping.
Oh, yeah.
I don't make sandwiches.
Don't get high in your own supply.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think one of the issues could be that Kit Malthouse, the policing minister, doesn't seem to understand how addiction works. Like,
Maybe he should talk to the cabinet, because they do.
he seems to think that sort of by doing this system, because apparently it has worked well in Hawaii, the reoffending rates have gone down.
Yeah. That's why they cancelled Hawaii 5-0.
The problem is that...
Hawaii 5-0 is a documentary.
Had no crimes left. Too good a system.
Yeah, I mean, Hawaii's
Same thing happened to Bergerac when they cleaned up Jersey.
Yeah, all those antique dealers. They got to the bottom of that case. Sorry, Dad.
That's all right. You carry on. But the issue is that it's all about imposing a quick sentence. So if you get identified with drugs in your system, you get quickly put into jail. And then you come out, but it creates this kind of rotating door where you're going in and out very quickly of prison. And also, it's all about drugs criminalisation. Like, there's nothing here about rehabilitation. Yeah. It's all about steadily increasing the punishments and not about working out how you can actually get people off this addictive substance.
But I did think that one of the things that was interesting was it wasn't about going straight to jail. It was also about, like, let's take away their driving licence, let's take away their passport so they can't go to Colombia or whatever. Yeah. And come back. So there was, like, steps along the way. Yeah. But the point is to just make life such a pain for them and this testing regime or whatever it is that I think that they would just go, you know what, I'm going to have a pint instead.
I think
or some heroin.
To answer my own question, I think, Diane, I think maybe as a society we should have zero tolerance to say, no, cocaine is not something our citizens should be using freely. A, it's bad for your health. Secondly, it can have a very detrimental effect on your personality, your mood. And then, of course, there is the issue about the huge human damage that's associated with the cocaine industry.
Absolutely. But the question is, OK, so you've got that stance, brilliant, zero tolerance, OK. But then do you go down the route of criminalising it, or do you go down the route of providing rehabilitation and sort of an actual method to help people get off it? So where do you go?
Yeah, it's a lot, and we're talking a lot of people. 3 million adults reported taking cocaine in this country last year, and at GBNews we'd kill for those. For those figures.
2.5 million of them are in Canary Wharf.
Well, of course, all of you watching are high on the content being produced by Josh Howie and Diane Spencer. These two are what can only be described as a natural and legal high. Saturday's Guardian, and worrying news for every male medical student that has ever donated sperm to fund their weekend drinking sessions, Josh.
Yes, so the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Authority, HFEA, has...
needs a rebrand, doesn't it?
It does need a rebrand, yeah.
Why don't they just call themselves...
Sperm.
Yeah.
The Society of...
The Sperm Shop?
Something like that.
What about sperm... Sperms are us?
Sperm are us, yeah.
Yeah, but
well, that's the way they're...
donate eggs?
I've tried to donate eggs. They've been rejected.
Eggs and sperm?
Yeah.
Eggs and spam? Anyway, look. They're basically saying... At the moment, you get anonymity until the child is 18. And then when the child is 18, it can be that child can then look up and find out who the donor was. They're now saying, let's just scrap that because of the how prolific all these genetic testing prolific. Is that the right word? Because so there's a lot of these genetic testing centres around. It's quite easy to do. People have been like half brothers, half sisters, have been finding each other. So they're saying, well, there's no point restricting that because people can find out earlier than when they're 18.
But it's a nightmare if you thought you were donating your sperm or your eggs anonymously, and then you get a knock on the door and go, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm your son."
Yeah, but also then there's the question of nature versus nurture. Because obviously you are biologically linked to this person, but if you get a knock on the door when they're 18 and it's 18 years later, biologically you might be a parent, but psychologically you certainly haven't been. And what about the parents in all of this? What about like the people who have brought up the donated sperm and loved that person and been, "No, I love you, you're my child." And then they're like, "But you're not real." But what do you mean? What do you mean not real? What is real?
I don't know. I'm terrified.
Looking after you when you're ill is real.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm terrified of like some 18-year-old little bull child rocking up at my door. "Daddy." Glasses. Beer. Beer. Just, and with many problems.
Well, look, I think there can't be too many Howies in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
Let me tell you. Right.
I'll start donating right now.
Yeah, definitely. This from the Daily Mail. There's been a bit of outrage directed to the Royal College of Nursing, Josh. And what's happened?
Yeah, so it seems like every few days we're getting one of these stories, like a library's hiring in someone very inappropriate. There was in Bristol, there was this this sex show for 5-year-olds, and now the Royal College of Nursing had the Super Camp Drag Storytime event, and for a bunch of toddlers, for 0 to 7. And it just to celebrate LGBTQ+, and this is frankly what happens when you put the TQ+ onto it, that is somehow what are these sort of 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds learning by seeing the Super Camp Drag Storytime event?
And a lot of nurses were quite annoyed because they pay £200 a year to be part of the Royal College of Nursing. And it's all about promoting sort of their workplace situations, and it's about negotiating pay for them. And the Royal College of Nursing is supposed to look after them in a workplace sense. How does this help them? It does not. Like raising awareness about LGBT nurses and how they work in the workplace and focusing on them. That would be a better use of the money.
And their needs.
And sorting out nurses and their pay and conditions, and what they've been through during the pandemic, and addressing nurses who have to go to food banks just to eat.
But not putting on a pantomime for toddlers, because then the Royal College of Nurses is assuming that all of their nurses A, have children, and B, have children of a particular age. So they're putting on this thing...
Big business,
I don't think
corporations, trade unions, the public sector, they're all going for this. I think they're getting their foot in the door with trans ideology at an early age. Josh, what do you think?
Yes, I think that's exactly part of it. It's been recommended by Stonewall and pushing through these things.
It's selling a message to kids that, oh, look, you think you're a boy or you're a girl, but not necessarily. If you're a boy that plays with dolls, maybe you're a girl, which is a conversation I don't think a 5-year-old should be having. I mean, when you're 18, knock yourself out, as far as I'm concerned, but not when you're 5.
Yeah. Go when you're 18, find out who your real parents are, and sort out your gender issues.
Let's go to the Daily Mail now. 4,005 years ago, offal was the go-to feast in Stonehenge. How could they possibly know that, Diane?
Oh, well, so this is wondrous. So a group of archaeologists have been studying something called coprolite, which is fossilised poop. And what they have discovered is that the Stonehenge inhabitants feasted on offal, because when they analysed poop that was 4,500 years old, they discovered that they had not cooked their poop very well. Cooked the poop, cooked the offal.
Jeez Louise, that's some bad, some bad cooking.
Times are hard around at Spencer's house.
So essentially there are a couple of Neolithic sites where a lot of people used to hang out, and one of them is Durrington Walls, and that they found loads of things. The archaeologists found loads of things there where they said, look, there was a settlement here, people cooked and ate and stuff like that. Wondrous. Yeah. Stonehenge, less so, even though it's more of kind of a famous sort of site. And they did discover that in the coprolite, which is the fossilised poo...
Pronounced crapolite.
Is it pronounced crapolite?
No.
No, it's not.
It could easily be. It's a good headline.
They discovered that there were worms. So basically, Neolithic TripAdvisor, if you're going to go to Stonehenge, do not eat the food. It's not cooked.
Yeah. Offal is the entrails and internal organs of an animal used as food. I mean, it's literally clues in the name. It's awful.
It's awful.
Awful.
Have either of you eaten offal?
I have never been to Scotland. And
I have tried haggis, because obviously that's a haggis, isn't it? It's
and
the
I
blended...
love haggis. Haggis is delicious.
You have, yeah.
Who knew?
Something to think that 4,500 years from now, they're going to know that I ate McDonald's today.
Yeah, they will. They'll be going through that famous Howie stool, going, what's he had through his system?
What does this reveal?
We've got a Big Mac, we've got nuggets, trace elements of cocaine.
Not trace elements.
Most of it.
Loads, yeah.
It's a big white rock.
Yeah. So what's going to preserve it?
We definitely jest on that one. This is from The Guardian and a comedy gig gone wrong, Josh.
Yes, so this is John Shuttleworth. I don't know if you're a fan of John Shuttleworth, very funny comic, was doing a gig sort of in a cavern, and basically it turns out this man was walking, trying to find the gig, using his sat-nav on his phone, got totally lost and basically fell in the top of this cavern. It's known as Devil's Anus. And so they had to cancel the gig because they were afraid that he was going to knock stones onto their head or whatever. So these poor Radio 4 listeners didn't get their John Shuttleworth gig. So there's a lot of very angry...
John Shuttleworth, this is a wonderful sort of downbeat but sort of poetic northern character.
Yes.
Played by the comedian Graham Fellows.
Yes.
Brilliant stuff.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
So it's a sad reason. That is a pretty good heckle, though. Literally someone trying to fall on your head.
Has anyone ever faced physical peril at one of your shows?
I have, obviously, many times.
Yeah.
I've had quite a few people try to attack me over the years.
Yeah.
Surprising. The audience might be surprised.
Chris Rock situation.
Really rub people up the wrong way. Sorry.
Well, it's why we love you. We wouldn't change a thing. The Daily Mail next, and I think this story proves that dolphins are culturally British, Diane. I've always thought it.
Oh, well, it's interesting because the dolphins will form an orderly queue. Apparently, there is a certain type of coral that they use as a medicine for skin ailments.
Oh, blimey.
It's quite wondrous. So what they've discovered is that these dolphins, first thing in the morning, they'll get up. There's a particular type of coral that they love to sort of shimmy and rub up against. So when they do
more than Loughborough Uni. Drama degree coming through yet. One more time. Finally, she gets to do a dolphin against the coral impression that she's been working on for 20 years.
I've been waiting for this.
Well, I think that taxpayers' money was not wasted. No. So that you could learn tricks like that.
And what happens is they rub against this coral and it releases, the polyps release all this kind of special mucus. And this
by the way, I do that at my local swimming pool.
What are you rubbing yourself against at the local swimming pool?
Well, if it's not an elderly swimmer...
it's a trans woman dressing in your... coming to the
I'm very...
dressing room.
I know, it's.
If they're producing mucus, you should not be rubbing against them, OK? That's how you get monkeypox.
I find it very exfoliating, I've got to say.
But it's really good for the dolphins.
Super spreader.
It's really good for their skin, and they have a little dolphin spa first thing, but they queue. They queue, so they don't push in, and they sort of, because it's only one particular type of coral.
Josh, briefly, dolphins overrated?
You want to go to the real cause. No, they're great, and also they tell each other apart by tasting their urine, just like how I knew when Mark entered the building.
There you go. My thanks to the brilliant Diane Spencer, the brilliant Josh Howie. Also, thanks to our brilliant production team, of course, Martin, Daryl, Louisa, and particularly Maudie, brilliant new member of the team. See you tomorrow at 9. Look forward.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee